He is handsome, attractive, and rich, and even engaged to his beautiful childhood friend, and also, he was worshipped as the child of God, hailed as the kingdom's prodigy. But here is the twist in this world. There is stats menu in which you have levels and other stats, just like solo leveling. So, when he touches the orb for awakening, he suddenly lost all his power and get to level 1, and lowest rank in every stat. His fiancée, she turned cold, broke the engagement, and ran to a stronger man. I hate these types of girls. Anyway, the worst betrayal? His own father sold him off to become a slave of the very girl he once loved.
The sting of Belbo's punch still fresh on its cheek. Before him, the elegant heels of Lady Felicia clicked against the cobblestones of the courtyard. "Welcome back, my lady," he murmured to the ground. She did not break her stride. Without a glance in his direction, a flick of her wrist sent a searing ball of fire exploding into his face. The force threw him backward, his body slamming into the hard ground as the smell of burnt hair mixed with the stable stench. "Belbo," Felicia's voice was a cold, sharp instrument. "Do not let that filth near me again." The butler, a gaunt man with a perpetually sour expression, hurried to her side. "My deepest apologies, my lady. The slave simply keeps insisting on greeting you. My mood is ruined. I am retiring to my room." "Of course, my lady." Belbo waited until Felicia had swept into the manor before turning his grim attention to Ragnos, who was struggling to push himself up. Belbo's boot connected with his ribs, rolling him over before a gloved fist slammed into his face once more for good measure. "Return to the stables and reflect on your actions, you useless wretch." Ragnos pushed himself back onto his knees, bowing his head until his forehead touched the dirt. "I apologize." He dragged himself away to the one place he was permitted to sleep, a pile of hay in a corner of the horse stable. He lay there, the day's new bruises throbbing in time with his heartbeat, and his mind drifted back. 2 years. It had been 2 years since he was hailed as the kingdom's greatest prodigy, the blessed child of God. The memory was a fresh wound. The flashback was vivid, painted in the grand colors of ceremony and hope. He was 10 years old, standing in the kingdom's grand church for the awakening ritual. The air hummed with anticipation. "It's the child of God, Ragnos! What incredible skill will he obtain?" Beside him stood Felicia, radiant and confident. She laughed lightly at his tense posture. "It's rare to see you nervous. You're already level 52. The average knight is only 40. There's nothing to worry about." "It's not really like that," Ragnos had replied. "You're not the only one who's nervous. I am too. I hope I get something that strengthens my magic, something worthy of a future royal court magician." He smiled. "You'll get something amazing. I know it." I sighed. "I still haven't decided what I want to be." Felicia playfully mocked his indecision. Silly Ragnos. The ceremony proceeded. When Felicia placed her hand on the glowing skill crystal, a brilliant light erupted. The result was power magic boost, the very same skill possessed by the great sage himself. The church erupted in cheers. "Ragnos, isn't it amazing?" she beamed. "With this, I finally caught up to you." Then it was his turn. A hush fell over the crowd as he approached the crystal. The moment his fingers made contact, a blinding rainbow-colored light exploded, filling the entire church. The uproar was instantaneous. This was unprecedented. The head priest, his voice trembling with awe, asked Ragnos, "Ragnos, what skill have you received?" The boy's voice was small, confused. "Level reset. It says my level will reset to 1, and my abilities will reset every day." The awe in the church curdled into silence, then into murmurs of confusion and pity. The scholars of the kingdom were summoned, but after extensive study, their verdict was final. The skill was utterly useless. His life unraveled instantly. His father's face, once filled with pride, was now a mask of thunderous rage. "A trash skill. You have brought shame upon this house." "Father, please wait. It's not my fault." "Do not dare talk back to me. Know your place," his father roared. The consequences came swiftly. "Because of this failure, your engagement to Felicia is annulled." "What? No!" "Nutos and I have been best friends since long ago. I would never let his daughter marry a failure like you. I have already proposed a new engagement to Georg, and he is accepted happily. Felicia has as well." As if on cue, Georg entered, a smug smile smile plastered on his face, with Felicia trailing behind him. Georg gestured to her. "Felicia, dear, don't you have something to say to him?" Felicia stepped forward. A gentle green light emanated from her hands, washing over Ragnos' wounds his father had just given him. A flicker of his old hope returned. "Thank you, Felicia, for healing me. Do not get the wrong idea," she said, her voice devoid of warmth. "You just look so pathetic, I thought I should at least make you able to move." She looked down at him, her eyes cold. "I came to say goodbye. You are a nuisance to me now, Ragnos. But I truly liked you. It wasn't just about the engagement. It was genuine." "Forget about me," she said, turning away. "Goodbye." As she left, Georg stepped forward, grabbing a handful of Ragnos' hair and yanking his head up. "What's the matter? Are you so shocked you can't even make a sound?" Their father's final decree was absolute. Ragnos holds no value anymore. The second house has Georg. That is enough. From now on, he is to be treated as a slave. Give him minimal food. He will sleep in the horse shed. Notify everyone in the mansion. The memory faded, leaving Ragnos in the present, surrounded by the smell of hay and despair. 2 years of misery. He looked over at the gentle mare in the stall. "Lucy, you're the only one in this mansion who's kind to me." Suddenly, a voice, clear and impossible, echoed in his mind. The true meaning of this skill. Ragnos jolted upright, turning to the horse. "Lucy, did you say something?" The mare simply blinked. Of course not. The voice was internal. A sudden desperate thought seized him. Had something changed? He focused inward, checking his status. Level 1. His stats were pathetically, familiarly low. Nothing had changed, except his eyes widened. His skill points. The number was astronomically high. 822. A realization slow and then all at once dawned on him. He had thought there were only demerits to returning to level 1 every day. But what if he had misunderstood? Normally, one gained a single skill point for every level gained. His skill reset him to level 1 every day, granting him 1 point each time. And crucially, any points he earned by actually leveling up during a day would not reset. They would remain. For 2 years, he had gained a point every single day. A massive hidden reservoir of potential power he had never thought to use. A smile, the first genuine one in years, spread across his face. "I've given up," he whispered to the quiet stable. "But this is the true potential. Luck is finally on my side." He reached out, giving Lucy's muzzle an affectionate pat. "I'm leaving this place now. You are the only one in this mansion who was kind to me. Someday, when I've proven my strength, I will come back for you. I promise." A single tear rolled from the horse's eye, as if she understood. Ragnos' own expression hardened, turning cold and resolute. "I will teach everyone who abandoned me a lesson. With this power, I will rise once more as the true child of God." The scene shifted 5 years later. The setting was no longer the oppressive manor, but a bustling town on the western edge of the kingdom of his wall. Ragnos, older and clad in worn traveler's clothes, approached a man lurking in a shadowy alley. "Are you the informant, Cliff?" The man, Cliff, looked up, surprised by the sudden greeting. "Maybe I am. Who's asking?" "I want information on the skill crystal." "How much?" Cliff eyed him, calculating. "Maybe 50,000 coins. Without hesitation, Ragnos threw a heavy bag of coins at the man's feet. The clinking sound was unmistakable. "Tell me everything you know." Cliff's eyes went wide with greed and shock. "So generous. Please, take a seat." He eagerly scooped up the bag. "I'll start with the basics. It's used to awaken a skill in a child of 10. That's common knowledge. But actually, it has another feature, adding new skills. It costs 100 skill points though, so it's pretty rare." "I already know that," Ragnos said, a flash of memory from his childhood, his father's proud explanations flickering behind his eyes. Cliff looked impressed, surprisingly knowledgeable. "Well, the information you're seeking is exceedingly rare."
It's a secret possessed only by the royal family and the high priests. Later, as Ragnos left the alley, he overheard chatter in the taverns and streets. The kingdom of Elizabeth had been destroyed, conquered by the royal army of the kingdom of Urash. This news sent Ragnos moving with purpose, heading for the forests that marked the border. He muttered to himself as he walked, formulating a plan. "I crossed the border, but this country won't let an outsider use their skill crystal." His 5 years of struggle were clear in his tone. "I thought I had to gain fame. I joined a guild, gave it my all. It took an immense amount of time just to raise my abilities from G to F." He clenched his fist. "But now, the crystal I've longed for is right there. I can't let this chance escape. He ventured deep into the forest, searching for hours, his hope beginning to wane. Then he heard it, a woman's scream, followed by shouts. "She's over there!" Ragnos' focus snapped into place. He moved with practiced silence, his eyes scanning the dense foliage. He spotted her, a young woman with a distinctive, glowing crystal hanging around her neck, running for her life. As she sprinted, her foot caught on a root, sending her tumbling forward. But she never hit the ground. Ragnos moved like a shadow, catching her and easing her fall. She gasped, surprised by the lack of impact. In one fluid motion, he clamped a hand over her mouth, pulling her down into the cover of the thick underbrush. "If you don't want to be found, keep quiet," he whispered firmly into her ear. The sounds of pursuing guards grew closer, then faltered. "Where'd she go?" a voice grunted in frustration, before the footsteps scattered, searching elsewhere. When the immediate danger passed, Ragnos relaxed his grip, removing his hand from her mouth. "I am not your enemy." She scrambled back from him, eyes wide with fear and suspicion. "You expect me to believe that in a situation like this? If I release you, you'll just run again. Bear with me until I'm done talking," he stated calmly. "Fine, I'll listen. Now get away from me. It's rude to talk to a girl while pushing her down," she retorted, her pride flaring even in her fear. She stood up, brushing dirt from her clothes, and eyed him warily. "What is your goal? You don't look like a soldier of Elizabeth. If it's money you want, I have some." "I'm not after money," Ragnos said, his gaze fixed not on her face, but on her neck. Her hand flew to the crystal. It's just an accessory." "That's a weak lie. It's a skill crystal. Please, let me use it." She narrowed her eyes. "You know its true powers?" "Of course I do." "Then all the more reason I cannot give it to you." Ragnos tried to reason. "I only need it for a moment." "I can't trust you," she insisted, her voice trembling. "Even if you're not a soldier, you could be a bandit." "I am not a bandit." "Then prove it to me." Without a second of hesitation, Ragnos dropped to his knees before her, his head bowed. "Tell me how. How can I make you believe me?" Nina studied him for a long moment, her initial fear hardening into a shrewd, calculating look. She extended her hand, palm down in a formal gesture. "Become my slave." Ragnos could only stare, utterly dumbfounded. The request was so absurd it momentarily short-circuited his thoughts. "Did you not hear me?" she repeated, her voice gaining a sliver of authority. "I said, become my slave." "I heard you," Ragnos finally managed. "I just thought it sounded completely crazy. I am entirely serious." His mind raced. Generally, slaves were criminals or their relatives. The brand was a permanent mark of past transgression. He thought of his own treatment back home. They'd called him a slave, forced him to sleep with the animals, but they had never made it official with a contract. That was the only reason he had been able to walk away. "There is no one by my side right now," Nina explained, her tone pragmatic. "If you become my slave, bound by magic, you would be physically incapable of betraying me. It is the only guarantee I have." Ragnos nodded slowly. "I see. You need someone whose loyalty is enforced. Someone you can trust, absolutely. You are correct. I need compassion right now, but I also need certainty." He couldn't blame her logic, but the price was staggering. A slave contract was permanent, a brand of ultimate subjugation. Yet the merit was undeniable, immediate, unrestricted access to the skill crystal, and in this treacherous world, a companion bound not to betray him. He considered the terms. A master could only punish a slave for going against their will. In other words, if you remained loyal, she would have no reason to harm him. It was a pact of mutual, if unequal, security. After a heavy silence, he spoke. "I am fine with it." Nina's eyes widened slightly, shocked he had agreed so readily. Ragnos knelt before her, bowing his head. "Do it." She placed her hand on his head, her voice taking on a resonant magical quality. "I, Nina of House Urash, command thee, enslave this person in my name." A searing dark energy erupted from her hand, sinking into his skin. It felt like molten iron being poured onto his neck. Ragnos gritted his teeth, a guttural scream of agony tearing from his throat as the magic burned its permanent mark into his flesh. When the pain finally subsided, a throbbing black star remained etched on his neck. Nina looked almost remorseful. Was this really okay? Ragnos took a steadying breath, rising to his feet. "I chose this. Now, I held up my end. Let me use the crystal." She nodded, lifting the crystal from her neck. "Even if you have over 100 skill points, you should know the skill you acquire will be random. I know, Ragnos said, a smug, knowing expression settling on his face. But why don't you check how many skill points I have first? Nina focused, accessing the magical information granted to her as her master. Her composure shattered. Her jaw went slack, her eyes wide with disbelief. 304,700? That's impossible! I haven't even heard of an ability called level reset. I'll explain later, Ragnos said, his voice tight with anticipation. He took the crystal, its surface cool against his skin. He focused his will, pouring all of his accumulated points into it. The crystal flared with a light so intense that it was blinding. And then, nothing. His massive reservoir of points plummeted to 0. A wave of confusion washed over him. What kind of skill demanded every single point he had? Then the answer materialized in his mind, glowing with the same impossible rainbow hue as his first skill. Unrivaled. Improves all status to the maximum for 1 minute. After use, original status is halved, usable once a day. The skill was phenomenally powerful, but the demerit was brutal. Half his already meager stats? It was a desperate gambit. What skill did you get? Nina asked, her curiosity overwhelming her shock. He explained its effects. Nina's brow furrowed in concentration. Let me see it. She tried to access his status, to see the skill for herself, but her efforts met an invisible wall. A deeper shock set in. I can't check it. I can't check your level reset either. What is this? A master should be able to see everything. Ragnos understood. Perhaps only the person themselves can perceive a rainbow-colored skill. Don't worry, I will explain everything. He offered her a reassuring smile, though his mind was reeling from the cost of his new power. Nina looked hesitant, even fearful. An ability that gathers that many points. It sounds far too overpowered. I am conflicted. I may not be a reliable companion for a man with such power. You might be too much for me to handle. Ragnos' smile was genuine. Then please take care of me. He extended his hand. After a moment's pause, she took it, and they sealed their strange pact with a handshake. The moment was shattered by the crashing of armor through the undergrowth. Over here, I found the Urash girl. Ragnos' mind switched to combat mode. Nina, what is your level? 21. I'm only level 1, he said grimly. We cannot win against the Knights Order of Elizabeth in a fight. There is only one option, a terrifying gamble. Do or die. I'm betting everything on this new skill. He focused inward. Activate unrivaled. Power, raw and absolute, flooded his veins. He checked his status and his breath caught in his throat. Every stat, without exception, was a glowing legendary S rank, a level of power he had never seen or even dreamed of. But the clock was ticking. We only have a minute. No time to idle, he barked. If this runs out, we're finished. Nina stared at him awestruck. All your stats? Is this the power of unrivaled? What do we do? Excuse me, Ragnos said abruptly. Before she could protest, he scooped her up into his arms. What? What are you doing? You can't carry a princess like this, she cried, her face flushing with indignation. Right now, you're my companion who needs rescuing. Your plan was simple. Use his imaginable speed to scatter the knights by sheer overwhelming velocity. The knights burst into the clearing, weapons drawn. There! Hold on tight, Ragnos commanded. Then he ran. The world became a dizzying, high-speed blur. Trees and knights were nothing more than streaks of color as he shot through the forest like a bolt of lightning, leaving the shouts of the confused soldiers far behind. In mere seconds, they were clear of the tree line, arriving on the familiar west side of the kingdom of Aswal. We've returned to the west side, he said, gently setting her down. They won't reach us now. He was breathless, not from exertion, but from sheer amazement. The journey that had taken him an hour on foot had been reduced to a few heartbeats. Meanwhile, in an opulent throne room far away, a different scene unfolded. A king, his face purple with rage, slammed his fist on the arm of his throne. Julius, have you found her yet? The knight named Julius knelt, head bowed. Your Majesty, I truly apologize. The troops moved exactly as you ordered. Do not give me that crap, the king roared, spittle flying from his lips. Know your place. I apologize for my impoliteness, Julius murmured, his voice a carefully controlled monotone. This is your last chance. If you fail me, your head will fly. As Julius bowed and retreated, the king's attention turned to a large, ornate chest in the corner of the room. His voice softened into a grotesque, possessive croon. Just a little longer, my dear. Soon your daughter will be mine. He whispered the name like a caress. Olivia. Once out of the throne room, Julius's subservient posture melted away, his face twisted into a mask of contempt. That ugly pig is the one who should know his place. He sighed, the sound full of disdain. No matter, I need someone truly obedient. Someone easy to use. He raised his voice, calling down the hall. Furlock. A figure emerged from the shadows, bowing deeply. You called me, Lord Julius? Take your squad. Find Nina Urash. This is an imperial order. See it through. A slow, sinister smile spread across Furlock's face.
I gladly accept.
Nenna's eyes fluttered open to the unfamiliar warmth of a soft bed. The first thing she saw was Ragnos leaning casually nearby, smirking as he greeted her with a teasing remark about being a sleepyhead. Disoriented, she immediately asked where they were. Calmly, Ragnos explained that they were safe inside Eugene's inn for the time being. No pursuers to worry about. Relief washed over her, but the feeling didn't last. Her expression froze as she realized she wasn't wearing any clothes. Embarrassed, she demanded an explanation. Ragnos, utterly unbothered, admitted that her clothes had been filthy after their run through the forest. He had cleaned the dirt from her body and left the rest to the landlady, who was doing the laundry. Nenna, voice trembling, asked who had undressed her. Ragnos answered bluntly, who else could it have been? He even reminded her she should be grateful. Shocked and flustered, Nenna called him a pervert and stormed out. Downstairs, Ragnos tried to brush it off, wondering aloud if it wasn't natural for a slave to serve their master. She ignored him, still furious, until the inn's landlady appeared. The woman explained how Ragnos had carried Nenna in unconscious and had looked after her with surprising diligence. Even the landlady herself had been impressed. Nenna, embarrassed, began to soften. Breakfast arrived, and as they ate, she requested that Ragnos stop calling her master. She wanted them to stand as equals. He half-heartedly agreed, stuffing bread into his mouth. With some hesitation, Nenna apologized for overreacting earlier and admitted it had been kind of him to take care of her. Ragnos brushed it off, assuring her it wouldn't happen again, before moving on to explain his strange abilities. His unrivaled skill, he revealed, drastically boosted his stats, though it came with severe drawbacks. Every day, his level reset, erasing progress, yet rainbow skills, like his, never disappeared. For now, he wielded both unrivaled and level reset, a dangerous combination. With that settled, he declared it was time to earn money by registering with the Adventurers Guild. At the guild hall, they filled out forms. Ragnos registered under the alias Rocks, a name borrowed from a childhood book. Nenna, in turn, chose Arve, meaning little spirit in an old tongue. When Ragnos teased her for having such a cute hobby, she snapped at him to let her be. Once registered, they received guild plates. Nenna pinned hers proudly in her hair like an ornament. At the quest board, Ragnos sighed at the lack of options, but Nenna insisted they accept an urgent rank C mission: slay a massive boar terrorizing a farming village. Though Ragnos argued the pay was too low, Nenna's conviction won out. If they didn't help, the villagers would starve. Against his better judgment, Ragnos followed. The journey into the forest began with missteps. Ragnos was ambushed by a wild rabbit and nearly killed, saved only by Nenna's fireball. Frustrated by his own uselessness, he trudged on until they reached the eerily silent village. There, the elderly chief, Kale, explained the truth. The great boar's rampage began after the villagers had hunted its child. Now it attacked relentlessly, driven by vengeance. Nenna hesitated, troubled by the morality of it, but Ragnos dismissed her doubts coldly. In this world, he told her, you either eat or get eaten. There was no right or wrong. As dusk fell, they prepared for battle. When the beast emerged, Nenna restrained it with her earth magic, giving Ragnos the chance to unleash his unrivaled skill. With a single devastating blow, he crushed the monster. Nenna was awestruck, though Ragnos treated the feat as nothing special. Yet before they could celebrate, the ground shook again. A second, even larger boar appeared, the parent, furious and grieving. The fight was brutal. Ragnos, weakened by the drawbacks of his skills, struggled to hold it back. He bought time while Nenna chanted her strongest spell. 25 seconds later, she unleashed Volcanic Inferno, an advanced fire magic that engulfed the beast in a storm of flames. Ragnos praised her strength, but she collapsed from the strain. Catching her in his arms, he cursed her recklessness. To their horror, the beast still lived, scorched but unbroken. Laughing bitterly, Ragnos realized this was no ordinary C-rank monster. With no choice, he gambled everything. Using Nenna's crystal and his remaining skill points, he learned Magic Boost and imitated her Inferno. Twice he unleashed the spell, and only on the second attempt did the monster finally fall, its massive body collapsing in smoke and ash. Exhausted, Ragnos stood victorious, wondering uneasily why his body hadn't felt pain or drained of magic as it should have. Something was changing inside him. When Nenna awoke, she was stunned to hear the fight was over, but before relief could settle, a smaller boar appeared, the orphan child of the slain beasts. Ragnos prepared to kill it, insisting that revenge should be crushed before it began, but Nenna stopped him. Instead of more death, why not raise it as a companion? Ragnos scoffed, but relented. The little boar charged and headbutted her, but instead of fighting back, she caught it and whispered, "Apology," hugging the trembling creature as it wept. Slowly, its fury melted into grief and then acceptance. To Ragnos' amazement, she had tamed it. Beaming, she declared it's her new companion, Irene. Ragnos groaned at the ridiculous name, but Nenna insisted he accept their new ally. When he reluctantly reached out, Irene promptly headbutted him in the face.
Scene opens. A gentle sunset settles over the quiet village. Warm colors spill over the rooftops as Ragnos and Nila return from their quest, weary but triumphant. The townsfolk greet them with smiles, and the two soon find themselves reporting back to the village chief, explaining every detail of their completed mission. That night, they rest beneath a sky of silver light, their first true peace after days of tension. Next morning, the guild hall. The air buzzes with chatter and laughter. Ragnos and Nina stand proudly before the guild counter as the receptionist confirms their achievement, a C rank quest completed. Both receive a shiny new plate and a hefty reward of 150,000 gold. As they walk out, the guild bursts into applause. The two exchange smiles, a rare moment of ease between them. Later that evening, the pub roars with celebration. Tankards clink, laughter fills the air. Nina, or Na, as Ragnos often calls her, leans back with a teasing grin. She asks how he managed to take down that massive boar on his own. Ragnos scratches his head, realizing he never actually told her. With a sheepish smile, he explains that when she fainted, his skill points reached 100. And at that exact moment, he somehow obtained the same magic boost skill as hers. It wasn't as powerful, he admits, but it gave him just enough strength to land the final blow. Nina listens quietly, sipping her drink. "I see," she murmurs with a small smile. Ragnos goes on, explaining how by morning the skill had disappeared from his status board, probably because of his level reset, he says. The thought leaves a faint shadow on his face, a bittersweet smile forming as he realizes something else. The rainbow-colored skills don't reset. That means, he thinks, that if he never gain one again, he might never grow stronger. A new goal burns in his mind: to uncover the true nature of the rainbow skills. Na nods, sensing the weight behind his words. "Then that will be our next challenge," she says softly. Scene transition. The guild messenger enters. Their conversation is interrupted as a polite guild attendant approaches. "Excuse me," he says. "The guild master would like to speak with the two of you. May I ask you to come with me?" The celebration fades behind them as they're escorted through long corridors to a reception chamber. Ragnos feels uneasy. The air here is colder, quieter. Then the door opens, and in steps a woman with calm, knowing eyes. She apologizes for making them wait, and oddly enough, calls them kittens. She introduces herself as Kamar, the guild master who oversees all guilds across Aself. Nina greets her politely, but Ragnos can't hide his confusion. She seems strange, almost whimsical. Kamar chuckles softly at his expression, then sits down, folding her hands. She begins, "I wanted to talk about your quest. It was originally marked as an A rank request." Ragnos frowns slightly, surprised. Nina quickly steps in, asking if she could elaborate. Kamar explains that the mission was initially posted for A rank adventurers, but the reward was so low that no one took it. To ensure it was completed, the guild quietly lowered the difficulty label.
something that should never have happened. She apologizes deeply, but she assures them she'll see that such a blunder never happens again. Then, smiling faintly, she thanks them. You did what others wouldn't dare. For that, the guild owes you. She gestures to the desk. You can collect an additional reward after we finish here. Her eyes narrow curiously. But tell me, who are you two really? An F rank and a G rank completing an A rank quest is remarkable. Her question hangs in the air. After a tense pause, Ragnos exhales. Fine, he says. Nina is the princess of Urash, and I'm her servant. Nina immediately grabs his arm in protest. Don't say it like that, she hisses. Embarrassed, Kamar laughs softly, saying she already suspected as much. She says to Nina, you resemble Aliva. That name catches Nina off guard. You knew my mother? Kamar's expression softens, nostalgia flickering in her eyes. For a very long time, she says, when I heard the royal capital had fallen, I feared the worst. How is Olivier now? Nina can't answer. Her eyes tremble slightly, and Kamar gently waves it off. No need, she says warmly. Let's move on. She explains that the guild received a letter from the village chief. The massive boar they defeated had once been called Aramantha, a sacred beast. Nina gasps. That means it was the Aramantian boar. Ragnos blinks. Sacred beast? Kamar nods solemnly. Beings that protect the land, gods of nature. Without them, the land withers. Ragnos rubs the back of his neck. We didn't have much of a choice. Kamar sighs. It's rare for a sacred beast to attack humans. The fault is ours for misclassifying the quest. Then she looks at them with faint admiration. Still, defeating one is no small feat. Nina trembles slightly, realizing the gravity of their actions. As the tension fades, Nina gently brings out Urine, the small creature resting in her arms. Kamar's eyes widen. How adorable, she whispers. Ragnos clears his throat, shifting the conversation. If that settles everything, then we'll be taking our leave. There's something else I need to investigate. Kamar nods, but then adds, since you've gone through so much, allow me to help however I can. Before they can leave, Nina hesitates and whispers to Ragnos. Maybe we should ask her about the rainbow phenomenon. Ragnos agrees and turns back. Guildmaster Kamar, have you ever heard of a skill crystal emitting rainbow light when granting a skill? Kamar tilts her head. Not personally, but I know of someone who might. Her tone grows mysterious. Far east of the capital, beyond the hills, there's a lake with a mansion at its center. The one who lives there is said to be a monster over 400 years old, the evil-eyed vampire. She pauses. Some say she knows everything there is to know in this world. Ragnos raises an eyebrow. So we might get answers or get killed. Kamar smiles wryly. Possibly both. Ragnos chuckles, softly, but decides. Even so, we have to go. He turns to Nina, intending to stop her from coming along, but before he can speak, she folds her arms. You can't leave your master behind, she says firmly. We're going together. Scene transition. Misty lakeside. The sky turns pale gray as they arrive at the edge of the lake. Ripples shimmer under the moonlight. At the center lies a towering mansion surrounded by still water. Ragnos frowns. How are we supposed to cross? He glances at his hands. I'd rather not use my skill for this. Before he can think of a plan, Nina points at the mansion. Look, something is coming. Dark shapes swirl from the distant balcony. Bats, thousands of them. They flutter close, merging together to form a solid bridge of wings and bodies stretching across the lake. Ragnos's instincts flare. This could be a trap, he mutters. Nina steps forward carefully, whispering an apology to the bats beneath her feet. She looks back at him, ready to speak. Ragnos sighs. If it's not about turning back, I'll listen, he says dryly. She pouts slightly, realizing he already knew what she was going to say. Never mind, she murmurs. They continue walking until they reach the great doors of the mansion. When Ragnos pushes them open, a blinding light floods the room. A voice echoes, smooth, hauntingly elegant. Welcome to my mansion. As their eyes adjust, they see her, a woman with pale skin, crimson eyes, and a playful smile. The evil-eyed vampire, Scarlet Blood Ray. She hovers effortlessly above the marble floor. You must be the ones seeking answers about rainbow-colored skills. She smirks. Ragnos freezes mid-step. Maybe we're in the wrong place. Scarlet glides closer, lips curving into amusement. Oh, no. You're exactly where you need to be. The tension melts into uneasy curiosity. Scarlet introduces herself formally, her tone both regal and teasing. Then she turns her gaze to Ragnos, eyes glimmering. You already possess 4 rainbow-colored skills. Ragnos blinks. 4? I only have 2. Scarlet tilts her head, smirking. Not all of them show up on your panel, but I'm certain you feel their presence.
She explains how certain rainbow skills manifest indirectly, through proximity to skill crystals rather than direct use. You've absorbed power by coexisting with the crystals of Elizabeth and Urash, she says. Ragnos and Nana exchange confused glances. Scarlet chuckles. It's fine. Think of it as unofficial power. She goes on, explaining that he also holds 2 hidden rainbow skills, quick growth and super healing. Ragnos' mind flashes back to moments when his wounds healed instantly during battle. It all makes sense now. Scarlet smiles knowingly. Be careful, boy. You've been given too much strength already. Her tone then shifts, mischievous again. But I do have one more crystal for you. She presents a glowing orb from the fallen country of Zane. Ragnos hesitates. I don't have enough skill points. Scarlet waves her hand dismissively. Rainbow skills don't need them. Go on. He touches the crystal. Light bursts forth, then fades. When he checks his status, a new ability appears. Random skill. One that lets him learn a random ability each day, disappearing when the date resets. Scarlet laughs softly. Perfect for someone whose level resets, don't you think? Nana nods. It's like those skills were made for him. Scarlet leans forward. Of course they were. Combine them all and you'll become unstoppable. Just then, a bat flutters in through the window and lands on her shoulder. Scarlet's smile fades as she listens closely. Then her expression hardens. The west side, she mutters. It's begun. Cut to west side, near the forest. Smoke and steel fill the air as knights storm through villages. Civilians cower while one soldier raises his blade, only to be stopped by a commanding voice. A man with red hair steps forward. Furlock Alicet, captain of the Zeb 7 Stars. Do not harm those who surrender, he orders sharply. We gather information, nothing more. His soldiers obey. Cut back to Scarlet's mansion. Scarlet's tone is grim. They're invading under Elizabeth's command. Their target is Nina Urash. Nana trembles, her eyes wide. Because of me? Ragnos clenches his fists. Let her stay here, he says to Scarlet. Scarlet nods, but before she can speak, Nana shakes her head. No. If people are suffering because of me, I can't just hide. Ragnos argues, his voice rising, calling her reckless, impulsive. But Nana stands firm, even as her hands tremble. I'm scared, she admits. But I have to face it. I'm still a princess, and I can't run from my duty. Scarlet watches quietly before offering calm advice. Be careful not to let emotion blind you. Think before you act, and you'll find a way. Nana smiles faintly. Thank you. But I've made my decision. She bows slightly towards Ragnos. Thank you for everything. Farewell. And with that, she vanishes into the night. Ragnos stands frozen, her absence echoing in the vast hall. Scarlet's laughter breaks the silence. Left behind by your own master? Huh? Ragnos sighs heavily. Please don't make it worse. But then her tone softens. You should go after her, she says. Not to bring her back, but to save her. Ragnos looks up, surprised. Save her? Scarlet turns away. What you do next will decide the fate of this world. Nina is the key. He demands more details, but Scarlet only smiles. If you knew too much, the future would change. Trust your instincts, Ragnos. A silence falls. Then, with newfound resolve, he nods. Understood. Scarlet's smirk returns. Good boy. Don't forget. Think before you act. And so the journey to the west begins. Scene opens a gray dawn over the Iswolf kingdom. Mist drifts through the capital streets. Ragnos walks with steady steps, the weight of Scarlet's words echoing in his head. He's come to the Iswolf kingdom, gathering scraps of information about the sudden war breaking out in the west. At a corner stall, he overhears hushed gossip. Soldiers whispering about a man named Furlock Alicet, captain of the Lysepth army. rumored to possess the title Sword Saint. They say he's terrifyingly skilled with a greatsword and not much older than Ragnos himself. Ragnos grips a wanted paper showing Furlock's face. So that's him, he murmurs. Scarlet's warning replays in his mind. What you do next decides the world's fate. He pushes forward, passing bulletin boards covered in war notices. The air grows heavier with each step. Cut to Warfront Intelligence Briefing voiceover. Furlock now leads a platoon invading the west side. Their mission? Capture Nina Urash, dead or alive. If the Oswald Kingdom refuses, they plan to march on the royal capital itself. At the guild, Ragnos overhears that the guild and army have allied to prevent an all-out war. Even so, tension crackles like a storm on the horizon. He sighs. With all that, there's still no sign of Na. He suspects she's already here, reckless as always. Looking around the near untacked town, he mutters, "Hardly any destruction. They've practically surrendered." Camera, close up on Ragnos. He focuses, activating the listening skill he gained from his random skill earlier that day. Voices around him sharpen into clarity. Captain's finally invading Yogin. With one platoon? Is he mad? You know him. He hates killing. That's why it's taking so long. Ragnos smirks faintly. So, that's the kind of man he is. Then, a whisper brushes his ear. It's finally here. He spins around. No one. Then a small voice below. "Look down, big guy." He blinks and sees Urin, the tiny creature flapping impatiently. Ragnos' eyes widen. "You? I can hear you?" Urin grins. "About time. Na told me to find you. Come on, follow me." Transition, forest path. They move through the familiar woods where Ragnos and Nana first met. The trees glow with faint moonlight. They reach a hollow tree with a wooden door embedded inside. Urin gestures proudly. "Right in here." He pushes it open, light spills forth, then fades.
Nena, alive, radiant, relieved. Her eyes widen. "Ragnos, you really found me." He exhales in disbelief, a half smile forming. "Of course I did. You didn't think I'd let you go alone, did you?" They reunite, warmth returning to the scene. Nena admits she sent Urin to guide him, but she didn't expect he'd actually be able to hear him. Ragnos chuckles, explaining about his listening skill, able to pick up even thoughts. Nena tilts her head. "So, you could read my mind too?" she asks, half teasing. "Only for today," he says wryly, "and honestly, I'd prefer a combat skill." Scarlet's voice suddenly echoes from above. "Still complaining, boy?" A tiny bat flutters out of Nena's hair and transforms back into Scarlet Blood Ray. She smirks. "Took you long enough to get here." Ragnos sighs. "You were spying on me again, weren't you?" Scarlet just laughs. Nena, meanwhile, lowers her gaze. "I said a lot back then. I didn't think you'd come after me." Ragnos smiles faintly. "You should know by now. I always will." Scarlet teases. My, how romantic." Ragnos grumbles. "Please, don't start." Regaining focus, he asks Nena why she's hiding here instead of charging into battle. She admits she was planning a suicide run, until Scarlet's advice cooled her head. But even now, she can't think of a solution that doesn't end in sacrifice. Scarlet folds her arms, revealing she kept watch on both of them through her familiars. "I even stuck a bat on you, Ragnos," she smirks. "That's how Urin found you." Ragnos shakes his head. Figures. She cuts to the chase. "You've been investigating, right?" He nods, explaining everything he learned. That Furlock despises needless bloodshed, that many soldiers under him are restless, some even ready to betray him if a clash with the coalition begins. Scarlet hums thoughtfully, Nena listens, her expression tightening. Ragnos concludes that maybe we should just wait and let the larger forces decide the outcome. Silence. Nena forces a small smile. "Maybe that's for the best." Ragnos stares at her. That easy agreement? It isn't like her. He realizes she's only trying to keep him out of danger. He reminds her, "Scarlet told me to save you, remember? She didn't say how, but that means you're not supposed to die." Nena looks away, conflicted. "Maybe, but still." Then, voice trembling yet firm, she asks if she can tell him what she wants. He nods. She meets his eyes. "I want to save Furlock." Ragnos freezes. "You... what?" She explains softly. "From everything I've heard, he's not a bad man. The minimal destruction, the spared lives, it's because of him. I don't want someone like that dying because of betrayal." Ragnos sighs. "That's a simple reason, maybe, but it's enough." He falls silent, thinking. helping the enemy, it's insane. But then he remembers Scarlet's words again, and the purpose behind his own powers. He smiles faintly. Fine, we'll do it your way. Nena blinks. Really? Yeah, but we'll need to move tonight. The invasion of Yogin starts tomorrow at noon. There'll be a party tonight to boost morale, light security. That's our chance. Nena nods. Scarlet watches with quiet approval. Outside, Ragnos calls for urine. Let's talk. Just the two of us. They step aside under the moonlight. Ragnos looks down. Why did you decide to follow Nena? She and I, we killed your parents. Urine ears droop slightly, then answers, to avenge them. Ragnos frowns. So you're just waiting to strike back? Urine shakes his head. No, someone manipulated them. They weren't themselves. He explains how his parents changed overnight. Driven by a force he couldn't understand, they attacked the village as if possessed. No matter how he pleaded, they wouldn't stop. Ragnos listens quietly, guilt tightening in his chest. So you're helping us to find the one who did that? Urine nods. Exactly. Ragnos smiles faintly. Then you made the right choice. And then I won't let anyone hurt you now. They start heading back, but Urine halts him. Wait, there's something else. Before he can finish, Ragnos' listening skill expires. The connection cuts. Urine face plants into Ragnos' chest, annoyed. Seriously? Ragnos laughs softly. Bad timing. Nena stands ready. Cloak fastened, eyes sharp. I've finished preparing. I'm ready whenever you are. Ragnos meets her gaze and nods. Then let's begin Operation Furlock Support. Enemy territory, west side base. Night shrouds the battlefield. Lanterns flicker along the fortress walls. Ragnos peers from the shadows. Security's light. Just one guard at the entrance. They debate who should take him out when suddenly Urine leaps forward, fists clenched with fiery determination. He launches himself at the guard's face, sending the man tumbling unconscious in a single blow. Landing beside him, he grins proudly. Easy, Ragnos chuckles. Nice work, little guy. They slip inside the base. The corridors are silent, torches dim. Ahead looms a grand mansion. Furlock's quarters. Nena whispers, amazed. Not a single guard? Ragnos mutters, they're all at the party. He approaches the ornate door. Could be a magic lock. Nena, can you check? She closes her eyes, channeling her magic sense. No spells, just a regular lock. He frowns. Too easy. Might be a trap. She nods, cautiously, but after a tense pause, he decides. Let's risk it. The lock clicks open. They enter. Dim candlelight paints the elegant room. Everything is orderly. Too orderly. No guards, no wards, just silence. They ascend the stairs, each creak echoing through the corridor until they reach the last door at the end. Ragnos whispers, this should be his room. They ease the door open. Inside, Furlock Alicet lies asleep, his red hair glowing faintly in the moonlight. Ragnos studies him quietly. Red hair. Royal blood of Elizabeth. Nena nods softly. Everyone with that lineage has it. It's proof. Ragnos murmurs, almost to himself, then why the name Alicet instead of Liz? Suddenly, Furlock's eyes snap open. In one swift motion, he sits up, snatches a knife from the bedside table, and points it toward them. His voice is sharp, commanding. Who's there? Show yourselves.
Watch next. She cheated on me with my best friend. Now they're regretting it. Also, tell me which manga would you like me to explain next?
Nina cries out Ragnos' name in alarm. He responds that the situation is unavoidable and activates his invincibility ability. Furlock demands to know what that power was, but Ragnos simply apologizes and instructs him to rest for a bit. He then moves with near-instant speed toward Furlock and delivers a strike to his abdomen. As Furlock starts to fade into unconsciousness, he manages to question their objective, but Ragnos promises to explain it later. Ragnos then hoists Furlock onto his back and tells Nina to retreat. He emphasizes that for security, they must proceed without making a sound, and Nina consents. They exit the area, and Nina remarks on how smoothly everything transpired. Ragnos acknowledges that capturing the captain during a feast is a serious undertaking, but he privately senses a growing unease, feeling that the operation was proceeding far too easily. Suddenly, Nina shouts a warning to Ragnos, but it is too late. An arrow strikes him, and Nina screams his name. In front of them, a soldier is visible, commenting that the shot missed. This causes Ragnos to wonder if he was not the intended target. Furthermore, his invincibility skill has just expired. He focuses on the soldier and asks if he is Cliff. Cliff expresses surprise that Ragnos remembers him, but clarifies that Cliff is his alias for outside work and insists Ragnos not use it. Nina asks Ragnos if he knows the man, but Ragnos denies a true acquaintance. He informs her that Cliff was the one who sold the information about her presence in the forest, which is why Ragnos had been searching for her there. It appears Nina attempts to assist Ragnos, but Ragnos then asks Cliff if his earlier statement implied that Furlock was his target. Cliff simply asks, "What about it?" Ragnos, forcing an awkward smile, then inquires if they would be allowed to leave if they handed Furlock over. Cliff merely laughs and refuses. Ragnos draws his sword, realizing that negotiation is no longer an option. He asks Nina if she can prepare a healing spell. Nina confirms she can, and Ragnos announces his intention to wake Furlock, which startles her. Ragnos then stabs Furlock's hand with his sword, which immediately jolts him awake, and Nina rushes to heal the wound. Furlock is enraged, demanding to know what Ragnos is doing and what is happening. Following this, Cliff addresses Furlock, noting that he is finally conscious. Furlock asks why Cliff is present, but Cliff explains that he is carrying out a mission for a certain individual. The mission involves eliminating Furlock and capturing the princess, whom Furlock was supposed to capture. Cliff adds that he never expected to achieve two goals simultaneously. Furlock is stunned and asks Cliff to repeat what he said. Cliff looks at him mockingly and asks if it isn't pathetic that he was dispatched here to be assassinated. He then states that, as a parting gesture, he volunteered to personally lead the commanders of his 7-star knights. Furlock is confused and asks why he must die. Cliff's expression turns serious as he explains that it is because Furlock is an illegitimate child. He points out that despite being scorned, Furlock rose to the rank of captain of the 7 stars through exceptional talent, and few people look favorably upon that achievement. Furlock is shocked that this is the sole reason and declares that he will not accept being killed for such a trivial motive. Furlock then looks somewhat worried as Cliff tells him that his acceptance is irrelevant. Cliff asks if this is not enough and suggests they simply end the confrontation now. Furlock becomes furious, but Ragnos places him on his shoulder and suggests that although Furlock is having a difficult time, they should cooperate for the moment. Furlock hesitates. Ragnos clarifies that he only meant to convey that they are not the enemy, having come to rescue him. Nina approaches and says she has brought his item box as well, urging him to trust them. Furlock states that he does not know their intentions but offers his gratitude and asks for their assistance, which Ragnos readily accepts. Cliff is surprised by this turn of events but says that in that case, they will also fight without restraint. His archers begin to prepare, but as they fire, Furlock deflects all the arrows and asks Cliff if he truly believed such a meager attack could defeat him. However, Cliff appears behind him and says he never thought that. As Cliff prepares to strike, Furlock manages to block the blow just in time. Cliff then leaps over him and is about to deliver a decisive strike, but Ragnos intervenes, deflecting the attack. Ragnos smiles, reminding Cliff not to forget about them. Nina then uses her Thunder Spear attack, which connects with Cliff. Cliff admits that he was caught off guard and thought they were insignificant opponents, but concedes that their skill was not bad. Ragnos thanks him, and Cliff then says the situation is becoming interesting. He tells Furlock, the Sword Saint, not to perish too quickly, as it would become dull if he died too soon. Furlock prepares for battle, declaring, "Envelop my blade in light." The sword is enchanted with Aurum, which signifies gold. Cliff laughs, saying it has been a long time since he witnessed that technique. Furlock confirms this, admitting that Cliff's ability is truly problematic and announces that he will fight with full power. Furlock moves to attack, but Cliff employs a marionette skill, saying that Furlock is a naive person who dislikes killing. He questions whether such a person can kill one of his own men. Cliff then pushes one of his soldiers in front of him as a human shield, and Furlock, unable to stop in time, accidentally kills the soldier. Furlock looks enraged. Meanwhile, Cliff tosses the dead soldier aside, saying he is no longer useful, before turning to Furlock and commenting on the excellent expression on his face. Cliff then attacks Furlock, landing a hit. Nina attempts to provide cover with Thunder Spears, which miss. Just then, Ragnos appears behind Cliff, poised to strike. However, Cliff somehow anticipates the move and attacks Ragnos first, sending him flying into a wall and remarking that it was a close call. He looks arrogant as he declares, "One down." Ragnos, however, is not defeated and simply tells Cliff that the blow hurt. Cliff asks how he is able to stand after taking his kick. Ragnos is internally relieved, thinking that the combination of rapid growth and super healing saved him. Nina asks if he is alright, and he confirms he is fine before asking Furlock if his troops are behaving unusually. Furlock explains that they are not acting of their own free will. Ragnos asks for clarification. Furlock explains that it is all due to Cliff's marionette skill, which allows him to control others by directly interfering with their minds. Those who have lost the capacity for independent thought become his puppets. Cliff claps his hands, confirming this is correct, and asks if he can share an interesting piece of information. He tells them that sacred beasts do not become hostile toward humans without an extraordinary reason. Furthermore, guilds in major nations do not easily change the rank of quests. All of this makes Ragnos realize that he has been completely manipulated by Cliff. He wonders if Cliff was the one who murdered Yur's parents and charges toward him, shouting that he will not forgive him. Furlock yells at him to remain calm, but Ragnos is too consumed by rage, and his attack misses. Cliff then says he will tell Ragnos one more thing. Losing control in a fight is the greatest mistake. He then slams Ragnos into the wall. Ragnos falls to the ground, and Cliff comments that he seemed quite resilient, but that once unconscious, everyone is the same. Afterward, Ragnos is seen waking up in a pile of hay. He gets up and asks where they are. Furlock asks if he is finally awake, and Nina simply says, "Thank goodness." They walk outside, and Ragnos asks what happened to Cliff. Furlock explains that the horses rescued them, telling Ragnos that immediately after he lost consciousness, the horse brought two others and used that opportunity to knock out Cliff. They then fled the scene, realizing they had no chance of victory with only two of them. Ragnos asks if Furlock, the captain of the 7 stars, is weak-willed. Furlock responds that there is a significant difference in experience between Cliff and himself, stating that they might have had a chance if it had been 3 against 1. However, after Ragnos was knocked out, he decided it would be too difficult. Ragnos apologizes for being a liability. Furlock dismisses the apology. He approaches the horse and expresses his surprise, explaining that this wild horse, which he inherited from Lord Zuit, was untamable and unrideable by anyone. Yet, it chose Ragnos and ran off with him, saying he had thought the horse was simply a troublemaker, but he never expected it to do such a thing. Ragnos is slightly taken aback and asks if Furlock truly inherited it from the Zeit family. Furlock confirms this, telling Ragnos that Pganav achieved many victories in past battles. He personally gifted this horse to Furlock when he was appointed captain of the 7 stars, but Furlock still could not ride it. Ragnos, however, walks toward the horse and says, "That explains it." He embraces the horse and says it has been a while, calling it Lucy. He tells Lucy that even though he had promised to visit her, he is very happy to see her now. Furlock asks if he knows the horse, and Ragnos says it is something like that and tells him not to worry about it. He then asks them if they have decided on their next destination. Nina joins the conversation and suggests, "How about the acute forest?" But Ragnos says that since Cliff mentioned she was in the forest, they should not return there. He suggests that they should instead go to Yajin, as Cliff might not be able to pursue them there. Nina then turns to Furlock and asks what he plans to do, since he is now an enemy of a swallow. Ragnos interjects, saying it would be acceptable if Furlock informed the guild master that he is currently not hostile. However, Furlock panics and vehemently refuses, saying he cannot betray his country and switch allegiance. Ragnos simply tells him he has no alternative. He adds that Furlock was betrayed first, and even if he returned to Lisbizabeth, there is no safe place for him there, and he would likely be executed. Furlock concedes that Ragnos is right. Nina tells Ragnos that he was too harsh, but Ragnos says that if he had not been so blunt, Furlock would not have understood. He then instructs both of them to head to Yajin. Afterward, they arrive in Yajin and meet Kamar, who says she understands but needs to speak with the king. She asks if Furlock's troops are still on the west side and says that if so, it should be fine. Kamar expresses hope that this arrangement will compensate for the mistake they made the previous day. Ragnos then moves closer to Kamar and asks what his plan is for after this. He says they will probably go to Scarlet's mansion. Kamar looks pleased, saying it should be difficult for anyone to track them today. She promises to arrange their lodging and tells them to get a proper night's rest. Ragnos replies that he expects good service. Meanwhile, Nina simply thanks her. Kamar then tells Nina that her friend operates a nearby inn and says the other inns are all boring and uninteresting, asking which one they will choose. Nina is about to say the fun one, but Ragnos quickly covers her mouth with his hand and says they will take the other inn. They arrive at the location, and Nina complains that she was looking forward to staying at Kamar's friend's inn, saying it would have been much more enjoyable. But Ragnos tells her that an inn where she can truly rest is better, right? He points out that Furlock is already resting and asks Nina if she needs anything. She tells him that she just wants to talk for a while, which surprises him slightly. She explains that since they are constantly traveling, she has not had the opportunity to talk much about herself. Ragnos asks what she wants to tell him, and she says she will tell Ragnos what happened in her home country. The narrative shifts back to a decade earlier, a time when the Arash kingdom enjoyed tranquility and Nina was a princess. We observe a young Nina engaged in training, and Marvis comments that her skills are improving. She laughs, attributing her progress entirely to his instruction. It is then explained that Marvis is the nation's most accomplished rapier master and served as the aide to her mother, Olivia. He had also been her swordsmanship instructor since her childhood. They resume their sparring session, with Nina exerting her full effort. Marvis smiles, noting that her body is adapting well to the daily regimen. He assures her that her strikes will eventually connect with him and commends her on a successful day of training. However, Nina is internally frustrated, as she failed to land even a single blow. Marvis advises her to maintain focus and actively seek out her opponent's vulnerabilities. Nina requests one more round, and Marvis expresses his appreciation for her dedication, stating that with her commitment, the country's future is secure. Nina beams with pride, declaring her intention to become a benevolent ruler, just like her father. Following this, Olivia enters and calls the scene charming, telling Nina she wishes she would apply the same level of diligence to her academic studies. Her father intervenes, asking if it is not a positive thing that she has a passion. Olivia, however, insists that education is equally vital. Marvis then formally concludes the training for the day, assuring Nina that she possesses genuine talent and that he can personally vouch for it. Her father simply cautions her not to overexert herself, and Nina smiles, confirming she understands. We learn that Nina loved observing her mother and father perform their official duties and was determined to dedicate herself to the country's welfare in the future, following their example. Even when Marvis was busy, she persisted in asking him to continue as her teacher, driven by a desire to mature quickly. With this goal in mind, she resolved to give her all. She even applied herself to her studies, as her mother had requested. She worked on her royal etiquette and continued her sword training under Marvis. The scene advances 2 years. We see her father remarking that she is finally capable of using advanced-level magic. Nina confirms this but explains that she was feeling very anxious at the time. Her father asks if she is unwell. Nina explains that she has heard about a girl her age from the royal family of their neighboring country, Ragnos, who successfully summoned a spirit. Furthermore, there is a boy referred to as the Child of God, whom we know to be Ragnos. Nina laments that in comparison, she can only use advanced-level magic and feels she has a long way to go. Her father asks what is wrong with that, telling her it is perfectly fine to progress at her own speed. But Nina shouts that this approach is insufficient and runs away. However, the text then reveals that contrary to their belief, the shadow of Elizabeth was drawing closer to them. 2 months after Nina mastered advanced magic, a knight rushes in with an urgent report. He informs them that the capital of Ragamal has fallen to the forces of Elizabeth. Nina's father is astonished but asks about the fate of the royal family. The knight reports that King Layden and Queen Lay were captured. Furthermore, the young princess seems to have vanished during the conflict. The father tells the knight that is sufficient information and thanks him for his service, and the knight bows before leaving. The text notes that the war in the neighboring countries deeply shocks Nina, which is clearly evident. Several years later, she has turned 16 and has achieved the highest level of high-level magic. Despite this, Elizabeth continued to make suspicious movements, causing her great anxiety. She became convinced that Elizabeth would inevitably invade them. She felt a desperate need to acquire a power even greater than her current abilities to protect those she cared about. Having been granted access to the library, she wondered if she could find any knowledge there. She discovers a very old-looking book containing forbidden magic. Nina recalls learning that forbidden magic is considered more potent than the magic she currently wields. She reasons that it was banned not just for its power, but because its immense strength comes with severe side effects for the user, potentially leading to death in the worst-case scenario. Nevertheless, she believes that mastering it could give them an advantage in the impending war. She declares that she will master this forbidden magic no matter the cost. The inevitable then occurred. Soon after, Elizabeth's invasion of her own country began. Someone informs her father, now identified as Julius, that the situation is dire. Elizabeth's attack was fierce, and Santa Misha has already been besieged. Julius states that at this rate, Santa Misha will fall quickly. He considers sending a royal magic squad along with the royal guards as reinforcements to Santa Misha. However, Nina interrupts, arguing that the magic squad is their final defense line and that there are still many unresolved issues. She suggests leaving the magic squad and the vice captain to defend the capital, while she leads a small contingent of the squad as their captain. Julius immediately forbids it, refusing to allow her to go to the front lines. Rudo then speaks up, stating that Nina is the country's most skilled mage. He expresses his belief that she can handle the Elizabeth army and asks Julius if he lacks faith in Nina. Julius looks perplexed and denies distrusting her. Nina then speaks, asserting her desire to do what is best for their country. She says she understands his fear but promises she will be fine. She states that she has been working toward this day and will ensure she returns alive. Both Julius and Olivia look terrified, but Nina tells them not to waste time. She says she will select the members and depart for Santa Misha immediately. They arrive at the front lines in Santa Misha, and someone asks Nina what is happening, as the place feels deserted, like a ghost town. Nina is confused, noting the absence of any signs of battle. She instructs them to search the area and check everything. After a brief search, they regroup and report to Nina that they found nothing. A realization suddenly dawns on Nina. She wonders if the report about Santa Misha being the front line was entirely false information. But before she can dwell on it, someone calls her attention to a massive fire visible in the direction of the royal capital. Nina is stunned, realizing that this entire operation was a trap designed to lure the guards away from the capital. She chastises herself for not noticing sooner. She mounts her horse and orders everyone to return immediately. As she rides, she urges herself to hurry, needing to save her father and mother. She outpaces the others, who call for her to slow down, but Nina is too far gone. She sees the entire royal capital engulfed in flames, but is puzzled as to why they encountered none of the Elizabeth troops. She wonders if they used some secret route. She bursts into the capital, praying for her father and mother's safety. As she runs, she sees the bodies of the magic squad members and even the maids. She is filled with rage, calling the act cruel. Suddenly, she hears someone call her name, expressing relief that she is unharmed. It is Ruto, and she says she is glad he is safe. But he asks her who this Ruto is, stating that he is the captain of the 3rd squad of the Elizabeth 7-star squad, and that his name is Rubold Rayarth. Nina is utterly shocked and asks what he is talking about. She then reflects, realizing that the person who suggested dividing the capital's defense, who reported the situation at Santa Misha, and whose actions contributed to the unusually rapid fall of the capital, must have been Ruto, who betrayed them and led the Elizabeth army here. Ruto attempts to correct her, saying he did not betray them, but that he is, in fact, from Elizabeth and came as a spy. He admits, however, that playing house was quite enjoyable. Nina screams at him to stop joking. She activates her magic boost and unleashes her thunder spears against him, but he effortlessly blocks them with minimal exertion, commenting that she still lacks experience. He tells her he will silence her for a while. He then summons a form of darkness around her, immobilizing her. Ruto tells Nina that she is no match for him and calls her foolish, adding that both Julius and Olivia wore the same angry expression she is wearing now. Ruto, with a smirk, expresses his delight at seeing them utterly defeated and helpless, singling out Olivia, the beautiful queen of Aresh, and commenting that her beauty remains undiminished with age. Nina's anger intensifies, and she demands to know what he did to her parents. Ruto approaches her, remarking that it is wonderful that Nina is still concerned about her parents even in her current predicament. Suddenly, a knight arrives and informs Ruto that the palace has been secured. Following this, another figure appears, and Ruto comments that he did not request his assistance. Nina looks back with a look of despair, realizing that Marvis was also involved in the betrayal. Marvis walks past her, stating that this tedious period is finally concluding and that the boredom was almost unbearable. Nina pleads with them to stop, insisting they must be lying. Marvis turns back and tells her that she is an offering to be presented to the king, and that he does not wish to harm her, so she should remain quiet. Nina asks why she is being taken to the king, but he replies that she does not need to know the reason. Another knight then appears, announcing that the preparations are complete. Ruto instructs the knight to bring them forward. He then looks at Nina and says he is being generous by allowing her a moment to say goodbye to her parents. At that moment, another person enters and tells Nina that she looks pathetic. Nina recognizes her as one of the maids who served her. The maid reveals herself to be Almonica Planche, the captain of the 3rd Division of the Elizabeth 7-Star Squad. Nina realizes that even the servants were spies and concludes that this was not merely a sneak attack. A knight brings Julius and Olivia forward, and Nina rushes toward her mother and father with all her remaining strength. Her father speaks her name and apologizes for how things have turned out. Nina tells him not to apologize, insisting it is not his fault. He continues, asking her to forgive them for forcing her onto a difficult path. He then holds up a magic crystal, telling her he is entrusting it to her and begging her to protect the bloodline of Urash. Nina screams that she will, making a solemn promise. Her mother then rises and says she also has a final request. Nina tells her not to speak as if this is a final farewell, but Olivia asks if Nina remembers the promise she made when she was very young about building a country where everyone would be happy. Olivia tells Nina that she has always believed she would be able to fulfill that promise, saying that Nina is their pride and joy and that they will always be watching over her. Nina begins to cry, saying that she is their daughter and will certainly keep her promises, pleading with them not to speak of this as a final goodbye. But then, Marvis suddenly appears and stabs Julius with his sword, declaring that giving false hope at a time like this is a cruel thing to do. Nina tries to get up and screams for him to stop. Marvis looks at her with annoyance, and Ruto steps in, punching her in the chest and ordering her to be silent. Ruto then announces to all the soldiers that the foolish King Julius and Queen Olivia are about to be executed. Nina screams at them to halt, but her father speaks both Nina's and Olivia's names, apologizing for being a useless father and saying that he loves her dearly before his head is severed. Ruto then pulls Olivia up by her hair, stating that she is next. Olivia says that she is content and proud to have been his wife before looking over at Nina and saying that she will love her forever. Just like that, her head is also cut off, leaving Nina in complete despair, wondering why this is happening. Ruto walks past her, proclaiming their victory and commending everyone's efforts. Marvis then announces that he will be leaving early, taking Olivia's head with him and entrusting the handling of Nina to the others. Nina, however, is lost in her own mind, thinking that her father and mother are dead. All the servants and soldiers in the castle have been killed, and the capital is ablaze. She realizes that both Marvis and Ruto were traitors. She looks utterly lost, saying that she has no allies left and that everyone is an enemy. She tells herself that since everyone here is her enemy, it is acceptable for her to destroy them all. She then commands them, in the name of Urash, to devour everything and utters the words Blue and Nova. Ruto looks on in shock, wondering what this is. Then, all the soldiers begin to scream, saying their bodies are melting and begging for someone to save them. Ruto, still in awe, cannot believe it, recognizing it as the forbidden magic Blue and Nova, a flame that consumes all living things. He explains that once activated, it will not stop until it has devoured everything nearby, calling it a dangerous magic. He wonders when she learned it, before thinking that she was a girl who was easily swayed by her emotions and unable to act until now. He concludes that they simply need to capture her heart again and deal with her. Suddenly, a young boy walks toward her, pleading with her not to take his life, reminding her that he has served her for years. But Nina continues to advance, looking utterly despairing, and asks what he is talking about, questioning if they weren't the ones who erased all such memories. She reaches him and then melts his body into nothingness, which Ruto finds unbelievable. Ruto begins to scream, then starts to beg for mercy and for Nina to save him. Nina looks at him with a cold expression and says that it is unfortunate. She explains that even if she wanted to stop it, she cannot, but adds that she would not have stopped it anyway. Ruto tries to defend himself. However, he appears to be fully consumed by the flames and dies. Nina then collapses to her knees, saying that it is all over and calling the outcome unexpected. Then, a voice in her head says that it is not enough. Nina asks what the voice means, insisting that it should be finished. The voice says that it has found many more targets, and Nina asks what the voice is referring to. We then see that the voice is beginning to attack the people of Urash, and Nina tells it to stop. However, it is too late as a massive explosion occurs. As Nina looks forward, she can see nothing but dust. The voice then says that it enjoyed the process, telling Nina that the price is that it will take her most precious possession. However, Nina thinks that her most precious things have already been taken. She remains on her knees, crying, saying that she will soon join her father and mother. The voice then says that Nina's most precious thing is that it has taken a part of her name. Nina is surprised and asks what it means, as her name is simply Nina Jors. She then recalls a memory of her father and mother discussing her name, but she cannot hear what they are saying. She realizes that Nina was just a nickname and that her true name is different. Nina begins to cry uncontrollably, thinking that rather than leaving her in this cruel world, she wishes the voice had taken her life instead. She reflects that her parents put so much thought into her name, and now she cannot even remember it, concluding that her most precious possession will never return to her. The scene returns to the present, where Nina says that is the full story and that she was driven mad by momentary rage and sorrow. At that time, she lost her parents, and the only memento she has of them is the skill crystal. Ragnos then speaks, expressing amazement that the destruction of Urash was her own doing. Nina says that after that, she simply kept running desperately, trying to find a reason to survive. She considered her situation and concluded that revenge is not the answer. She smiles and says that the task her parents entrusted to her before they died, to properly carry it out and build a country where everyone is happy and smiling, is her purpose. She tells Ragnos that she will change this painful world, and he smiles, telling Nina that she is strong. The scene shifts to the next day, where they have arrived at the mansion. Lucy appears very tired or ill, and Ragnos urges her to hold on. Just then, Scarlet appears, commenting that they have returned after quite some time. Ragnos interrupts her, saying that Lucy seems unwell, and Scarlet offers to examine her. She looks at the horse, and Ragnos asks if she can heal Lucy. Scarlet first looks confused, then says that Lucy is suffering from something malicious. He asks if it is an illness, but Scarlet says it is not. She tells Ragnos that she will have her kin take Lucy somewhere she can rest for a while and instructs them all to enter the mansion, where she will provide the details. Ragnos thanks her, and Scarlet tells them to follow. Inside the mansion, Scarlet says she is aware of Furlock's situation and asks them to listen. She then completely changes the subject, stating that Lucy has been afflicted with a powerful and very problematic curse, which shocks both Nina and Ragnos, while Furlock remains expressionless. Ragnos immediately asks what they should do, but Scarlet tells him to calm down. She tells Ragnos that Lucy's life is not in immediate danger, but she is growing weaker and they must act quickly. Ragnos asks if Scarlet cannot break the curse herself, but she says it is a strong curse that even she cannot undo. Nina then speaks up, saying it would be helpful if they at least knew who could break the curse. But Scarlet says they are not without clues, telling them that Ragnos's rainbow-colored skill makes it possible. Ragnos asks if she is referring to the skill he has not yet mastered. She confirms this, explaining that it is a skill that instantly and completely heals any injuries, curses, and abnormal statuses of others. She explains that it is a skill with the same name as the legendary elixir, and that it is sealed within the skill crystal of Jamatalot. Furlock asks if she is talking about the Windcliff City Rondad, and Nina asks if that city was not destroyed 150 years ago. Scarlet confirms this, saying that the Windcliff City Rondad is the location of the former country of Jimadal, and the descendants of the royal family should still be there. Ragnos says he understands the situation and that they must hurry. He tells Nina that she will be coming along, and before he can even ask Furlock volunteers to join them, saying there is no point in him remaining idle. They are about to leave immediately, but Scarlet tells them to wait, stating that Nina will be staying behind. Nina looks back in shock and asks why. Scarlet approaches and whispers something in her ear. Nina looks completely devastated after hearing it. Nina asks if it is truly possible, and Scarlet says that what she said is true and that she is not lying. She tells Nina to remain there, as everything depends on her efforts until the end. Nina looks sad as she glances at Ragnos, but he asks what is wrong with her expression. He then smiles and asks if it is related to her past, and says that in that case, he also thinks it is better for her to stay, which makes Nina happy. She then apologizes for not being able to accompany them. Furlock whispers, asking if they will be alright without her, but Ragnos says they will be fine. Ragnos then gives a genuinely warm smile, saying that Nina just needs to continue doing what she enjoys without worrying about other things, and that is all that matters to him. She then jumps toward Ragnos and thanks him. Ragnos pulls her closer and tells her not to push herself too hard, and Nina tells both of them to do their best. Scarlet then interrupts and teases them, which upsets both of them. Nina then says that she will be lonely but will be cheering for them, and Ragnos tells her the same. Furlock then asks Ragnos if he is alright, before asking if he and Nina are romantically involved. Ragnos tells him he is mistaken, which leaves Furlock completely astonished. Furlock then asks if Nina does not need his help, considering the distance they will be traveling. Ragnos says that he also wants to help her, but Lucy's condition is worsening, making Lucy his first priority this time. He assures Furlock that Nina will be fine, and even if something happens, Scarlet will be there. Furlock says he understands, but just then, Scarlet asks them why they are still standing there, and tells them to leave her and Nina immediately. They wave goodbye and say they are leaving now, and Nina wishes them a safe journey. The scene then cuts to a dancer performing the dance of the heavenly temptation, and the crowd calls her Luriel. They all look delighted, but Luriel stops and says that the day was pointless. She looks lost as she asks when she will finally find what she is looking for.